Okay, welcome back. This is coverage of week 5 of the 2022 Casuals Only Tournament. This is the last week, the final week for this tournament. Whoever ends up with the most lives will be considered the winner. Just to quickly go over the results of week 4 again. We have 5 players who are still alive. Wings is leading the pack with 10 lives. Overdose in second place with 9, Walter Wight with 6, Father Xmas with 5, and Glassjaw with 3. Once again, I'm joined by Walter Wight. How you doing?
Doing good. Excited to watch these games.
Good. And yeah, once again, these games happened last Sunday. Without further ado, let's jump into it. So yeah, this would the way we organized it was the person with the highest number of lives would choose the first game. So this is actually Wings' choice, King of the Hill, Dead Man's Float. So I think we have seen this game type a couple of times in the tournament, in addition to its partner map, Dead Man's Chest. I think I reviewed it last time. There's really three access points, these 3 beaches. It is a King of the Hill map, so there should be some intense fighting, between Father Xmas, Wings to secure this beach here. And then, let me start, F7 and then caps lock and all that. Okay, and then Walter Wight and Glassjaw fighting over this beach. Overdose is sort of the lucky person without a direct competitor, so he should be able to secure this beach somewhat quickly. Anything you'd like to say?
Game on.
No, I think that that kind of brings up the major point. This is oftentimes considered a great 6-person map, but with 5, oftentimes it leaves one beach open. So it'll be really interesting to see how Overdose can potentially leverage that.
It seems like you, Walter White, are making a really mad dash for the flag with goals and all your berserks and your hair on guard, whereas everyone else is just kind of bringing a much smaller contingent of people. Okay, now you're backing up, and now you're actually just bringing in 1 goal, so you're actually the weakest of the 5 forces currently going towards this flag.
Contested.
I think I'll just zoom out and kind of leave it maybe around here. This should cover the major fighting.
Yeah, so some interesting things that you can maybe see around the map of what's getting sunk in the water are some whites around. Those can really mess with your beach mate, so to speak, because you can send those up strategically throughout, or run them straight into their units. But really, this map oftentimes comes down to who has the best dwarf usage.
Yeah, and by that I think Walter White means if you could essentially get 1 or 2 dwarves on this top flag, you're gonna at least get 30 or 40 seconds just on that alone, if not more, because you can simply chuck some bottles and kill anybody who approaches the middle, unless you get melee rushed or something. So yeah, it really is all about the dwarves,
5 minutes,
which is why it's important to protect them as much as possible. Overdose does not seem to be able to do that. 2 of his dwarves get annihilated. We saw earlier Wings and Father Xmas, I think, traded dwarves around here somewhere. Walter Wight, you're not really doing anything. And then,
Well, I snuck that white straight up to the flag, which is going to really mess with a lot of people's momentum. And that single goal was able to put Walter Wight in first place until just now. And now he sends up his next goal. Oh, he noticed a pus there.
yeah, that was sort of a fortunate pus to have materialized. And so what we're seeing right now is a lot of Zerk action. If you notice, Overdose, Walter Wight, Well, I think it's just you and I who really have large groups of thrall, and you know,
That can be really great for endgame, unless some great players get some dwarves up there, which it looks like Wings is attempting to do, to really put some pressure on those dwarves as the time drags on.
Well, we now see a 4-dwarf rush from Glassjaw, who is able to kill one of Overdose's dwarves. But Overdose is able to vaporize a couple of them, as I think that was my last dwarf. So Glassjaw now has those coveted 2 dwarf guys on the hill. One thing to note is that the value of Thrall in a King of the Hill game type really differs between Dead Man's Chest and Dead Man's Float. I would say Dead Man's Float, they're a lot less valuable just because of these Dwarven heroes. And Dead Man's Chest running in Thrall at the 3-minute level, a lot of times those Thrall will make it through the end of the game. But in Dead Man's Float, I mean, these guys are just kind of sitting ducks, and you really just want to get them in the last couple of minutes, maybe, just because they are just so much weaker. We see a great throw from Wings, killing 2 of Father Xmas's dwarves. I think Wings, this dwarf right here, might be the last Dwarven hero on the map. And so it'll be in Wings' best interest to sort of keep him alive
at all costs.
Yeah, instead I think he bombed his own Thrall just now. But now he's sort of getting to work on your Thrall, but you did save your Zerks wisely, and it looks like you cut down his Dwarven hero. Out of the corner we see Glassjaw, who we haven't really talked about up until now. Again, usually there's sort of a major fight for this beach, but there seemed to have been some kind of cohabitation between Walter Wight and Glassjaw, because I don't think you guys really engaged too much with each other.
It was pretty intermittent, really. When he pushed, I wasn't pushing, and when I pushed, he wasn't. So I don't think that, to be honest, there was any actual agreement. It was just kind of a lucky coincidence for both of us.
And Wings randomly has an extra 2 dwarves. I thought he was done, but okay, well, it looks like you're hacking. You're going to get at least one of them, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe that... Okay, yeah, you got one. And now both of Glassjaw's dwarves have died. But Glassjaw is going to kill... Oh, now Father X... So everyone has dwarves coming out of nowhere, but there is 1 minute left, so I'm not even sure if this dwarf is going to play much of a factor. But yeah, I mean, we see Overdose with some melee units. He might be able to make it to the end of the game. Walter Wight has, a very strong lead at this point. Again, Glassjaw and Walter Wight, despite not really engaging each other, they were still able to both stack time quite heavily, which is kind of strange. And then, yeah, it's going to be a tight race between Father Xmas and Glassjaw for second place. I think at this point Walter has it locked up. I think Overdose is chasing Father Xmas again, just purely from an instinctual standpoint, because he was the leader of the tournament for most of the tournament, even though he is not the leader anymore. And in fact, I think he might have dropped to 4th place or something like that. So there really is no reason to attack Father Xmas. But again, he is able to squeak out a 1 second, second place to avoid losing a life, much to the chagrin of Glassjaw, who I think was
actually
he had a slightly better game. So
and actually at the end game there, I was really trying to get Xmas, but he was just a little too good at getting other people's units in the way of mine to get that time, because you think about it, and Glassjaw was in technically last place, and so him getting a victory over Xmas would be good in general, as opposed to seeing him just get eliminated early on. But Xmas, the veteran he is, was able to get some good time.
Yeah, exactly. Just a quick shout out to Wings, who was able to stack 47 kills and 129 damage. I think most of that coming from his dwarves. You know, I think blew up a lot of Father Xmas's units, but at the same time, he was also able to get some nice throws to the middle. And when you start throwing, you know, bombs to the flag area, you're going to inevitably get some damage. So, you know, despite getting 4th place, good effort on his part. And, you know, Overdose, I guess, technically played the game, but he perhaps didn't play the game type. But, yeah, that's it. And that was the opening game for the final week of the 2022 Casuals Only tournament.
Yeah, it's still a fun game to watch. Some very different play overall, and yeah, I mean that game can go a lot of different directions, but it was interesting to see how it ended up.
Yeah, and so this is game 2. This was my choice. I forgot that we were doing sort of a pre-selected map, so I just kind of came up with this game on the fly. Now that I think about it, I probably could have chosen something that adheres to my skill set a little better than one of these maps.
Oh, but you looked at the maps, and this is designed to be a 5-person map. And then, you know, just to mix up the game type, captures is fun. It's kind of like territories, but with movable objects, these balls that you can move around.
Yeah, and one of the things is, you know, even, you know, both you know, 5 players on a 6-start map or 5 players on a 5-start map, nothing is completely fair, because, you know, in a lot of these 5-start maps, you either have someone starting in the middle, or you have some kind of pentagon shape, like a Demise on the Plains, Raid on the Plains, where someone's inevitably going to get doubled. Usually the person in the north, he gets doubled on Demise or Raid. So that's sort of an unenviable, you know, there's never a completely fair 5-person map. That's what I'm trying to say. But anyway, the person with the disadvantage would be Glassjaw, but he is able to vacate the hill, and he seems to be...
5 minutes remaining.
Oh, that's a beautiful pus deflection from Glassjaw. And then he's able to kill that goal. He seems to be on the offensive here. One thing to note also is that I did select no unit trading, which is why there was no planning time. Yeah, I mean, let's just focus on this. I mean, Glassjaw's going for it here. Nice pus.
And I don't think Wings was expecting it. This is a very early play, and so Wings may be caught off guard here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, oh, that might be bad.
Ball captured.
But yeah, it's good to see, you know, Wings perhaps, or sorry, Glassjaw. I mean, you know, he is up against the ropes, and so maybe he's having a change of perspective, and he's deciding to take the initiative. But out of the east, we see Father Xmas, who, I think Glassjaw just blew himself up. But out of the east, we see Father Xmas, no doubt trying to chicken hawk whoever the weakest opponent is, and it looks like...
Which isn't a bad strategy in this highly competitive, you know, last game series, is if you can clean up the mess, you get a lot of veteran units and 2 less players to worry about, maybe potentially owning the whole top half of the map.
Meanwhile, down here, we had a sort of an interesting kind of submarine fight, if you will, where we didn't really see each other's units, but we were just kind of guessing with our thrall. You know, obviously, you know, a lot of these captures maps comes to tagging balls that are in, you know, unaccessible locations, such as deep water and that sort of thing. And so...
My hope there is that you didn't see the white get sunk, and or if you did, you didn't click on it, so that I could basically not worry about.
I have one of my thrall right here rubbing up against your white, but he's not attacking. I don't know what happened.
Well, he obviously didn't see it, because you know, in these review games, we can see what's underwater, but in game we can't. So
Oh, nice shot. Yeah. So Father Xmas, while we were focused on our water fight, Father Xmas seems to have completely withdrawn from this Glassjaw Wings battle, and and for that
do you think
matter,
that's a French tactic, or
I'm not sure because he didn't capture this ball, so I don't think he really did anything. There was no sort of productivity, if you will, out of his decision to just kind of disengage. However,
maybe he noticed something?
one thing to note is that he is sort of amassing his army potentially to box in my guys, who I'm still spreading out. I knew you had your white there, which is why I kind of like, you were targeting this thrall, so I was like, why don't I get all my other thrall over here somewhere? But then I saw Father Xmas and I was like, oh god, I need to get ready for this Father Xmas rush, and so I kind of stopped paying attention to these thrall. But
One thing that I always try to do if I have a white in the water, because sometimes whites can be scared off by things, namely other whites in the water. But so not being positive, even though you can just look over to see that you had healed your white. I hit guard on my white so that he wouldn't move he wouldn't run away if a threatening unit came near him.
yeah, and so we see pretty much no effort from Wings right now. He is in second place because he does have 2 balls, and I think he tagged those 2 balls before I did. But what we are seeing is just a complete rush from Father Xmas. Just an unprovoked assault.
Ball contested.
There's no reason why. I don't really know exactly why he decided to rush me, but
Ball contested.
it is what it is. It's perhaps just some French jealousy. That's what I'm going to chalk it up to.
And it looks like although Glassjaw and Wings have similar unit percentages, they've kind of called a truce. Wings potentially being happy with his 2 captures balls up north.
Yeah, and from a strategic standpoint, if
Ball captured.
regardless of whether actually
Ball
now Father
contested.
Xmas, that was kind of friendly fire
Ball
there by my
contested.
dwarf, but I think it did a lot of positive damage too. Oh, that's a nice throw, but
Ball contested.
yeah, Father Xmas for a second was in second place. But
If he can take this ball away from you, but that dwarf takes a hard fall.
Ball captured.
Now Glassjaw's finally putting some pressure. Now he's backing
actually,
up
Wings
on
is
Walter
able to
Wight.
swipe this one here, and that's what sort of sealed the deal, I think.
So he's able to take second place there.
Yeah, I mean,
Very interesting.
this ball was completely vacant. Father Xmas, I believe this used to be his ball. He just kind of he dropped everything and just rushed me. Really,
Which is weird because last game he really focused on the game type, and this game not focusing on game type at all. Just kill overdose.
It just seems like he saw red, and he was the bull and I was the matador, and he just made a beeline for me. I consider it a pretty unprovoked attack because I don't think I really attacked him in the last game or anything like that. But yeah, Wings is able to get a free ball, which secured him third place. Glassjaw, you were pretty entrenched, and I was fighting Father Xmas. I don't think Glassjaw could have really done anything in his position because he just had a bunch of slow units who couldn't really get anywhere meaningful in time. Perhaps he might have been able to make a play for this one, but I think if Glassjaw took this ball, Wings would still get second place with 2 balls because of when he captured that second ball. So I think, yeah, I mean, I don't think there was really anything to do I don't think there could have been much of a different outcome the way things played out, especially again because of this fanatical Frenchman who just decided to go after me for no reason.
And again, you know, he did at one point, it had reached basically the end game, and he had 2 balls and was ranked in second place. So I think maybe he got too caught up when your dwarf blew up all of his units and then kind of forgot about the balls.
Yeah, but to be fair, you know, I was able to get 21 kills, 37 damage, leading the way. Most of it sort of on my heels, but yeah, at least Father Xmas got dead last, which is what he deserves after just a completely unprovoked attack. All right, so let me see here. I think you were third place, so this is your choice. This, yeah, of course it is. Flag rally, Gimble in the Wabe. Let's see what happens. Flag 1. Okay, nobody on flag.
Again, not an ideal 5-person map because there are 6 starts, leaving 1 flag wide open. In this, I think Glassjaw and Walter Wight kind of have an advantage because we can likely get a quick tag unless one of us decides to fully defend flag 1. Well, then only one of us might get the free first minute tag.
Maybe. I would also say that Overdose has a very good memory, and because of his accounting classes, he always likes to make sure his books are balanced.
Gotcha.
I would consider myself in debt at the expense of Father Xmas, and I'm here to repay and settle the score, so to speak. Even though I don't have any plans on rushing Father Xmas, I just want to tag his flag for the record, as we'll see. But yeah, the most interesting thing that you know, when I played this was that I completely just left my flag open, but you know, I don't think Wings was scouting.
If you look at Xmas, he does do a quick brush on Walter Wight here too. So not paying attention to his backside, regardless of having maybe done you a little dirty. He rushes Walter.
I mean, I wouldn't really consider that a rush. He does.
I mean, it's a beeline for the flag.
Six archers. You can't rush with max archers, you know. But
well, you know what I mean. I'm not saying like a melee rush. I'm just saying, you know, he pulled 90% of his units for a quick trying to get that kill on my side.
Yeah, we see Overdose with a double pus going after his Stygian Knights. Meanwhile, Overdose is making a play for the flag. Over here we see unfortunate dud from Wings, but it ends up working in his favor. See, now we see
Flag
Overdose,
captured.
who could actually slaughter Father Xmas's bowman, but again, he was really just after the tag.
He backs off like a gentleman.
Yeah, exactly. But Father Xmas, perhaps enraged again, is just refusing to play the game type. Kills one of my warriors. Walter Wight is content to continue guarding that flag. Wings somehow has a contingent of units on flag number 1, while he and Glassjaw slug it out on Wings' home flag 5. So that's kind of bizarre. It looks like Wings is going to take that fight, and so Glassjaw is really in a precarious position because I think this is he's on his last life. So basically, if he loses this game, he's out, and with 17%, it's looking like that might come to fruition. Meanwhile, we see Overdose with 92% of his units.
Flag captured.
You know, again, just not really trying to kill anybody. He's just moving his units around here. But Father Xmas, you know, he might be the proverbial hornet's nest, and he might be a bit incensed at the way that I played this game.
You were poking it a little bit, and now he's sending his hornets at you.
Captured.
Exactly, yeah. And I should, you know, if I wanted to, I could have just turned around and rushed him, because, you know... But
then you're both pretty much out of it, and so, you know, at this point, I think we're all trying to relatively watch our unit percentages to
well, I mean,
just
I
have
think
some strategy for the end.
Father Xmas has just completely disregarded the game type. He just walked right by a free flag number 5. He didn't even tag it. So I mean, I think he's really just trying to kill me at this point. Again, just for no reason.
It would be interesting to hear Father Xmas's justification for this.
Yeah, I mean, I could have just killed him back at his home flag, but I backed off.
Player
But
eliminated.
he's just in pursuit mode. I don't know what his game is. But meanwhile, we see Walter Wight. I think you're making a push for this wings. Oh wait, no, this was Glassjaw's unfortunately, he is out, and with both Overdose and Wings and Walter Wight with more than 3 flags, or with, you know, more than 2 flags actually,
Flag
Glassjaw
captured.
is sort of guaranteed to exit the tournament after this game. But, you know, it was a solid performance overall from Glassjaw. I don't think anyone really expected much from him, because I don't think any of us knew exactly who he was at the beginning of this tournament. But we now...
Only a brand new player, but now he's certainly made a name for himself being in the top 5.
He's certainly on our radar now. So, you know, even though it didn't go your way, Glassjaw, it was still a well-fought tournament, and we were glad that you were able to play a few games with us. And hopefully you'll be around for Casuals Only 3 if it ever happens.
And future Myth World Cups, other tournaments. You know, it's been fun playing with you, and can't wait to see what's in store for you.
I mean, I'm not playing any more Myth World Cups, but yeah. So Walter Wight, you just have to tag flag number 6.
Yep. But also, as you see in just a moment, Overdose is coming up, maybe even to the point that he can get victory imminent. So rushing all the units over there could be a risky move.
Yeah, well, I mean, basically, if I get victory imminent, then I secure 2nd place, no matter what. So, you know, that was really my goal there. Wings' entire melee force is following my 2 Stygian Knights. So I'm basically just able to get a free tag. And that pretty much locks up the game, unless Wings and Father Xmas can miraculously tag all 6 flags in about 2 minutes 15 seconds, which...
Yeah, and really not knowing what was going on with you and Father Xmas having over 73% units, I kind of was like, you know, this could be still anyone's game, so don't try to play anything too risky. I have first locked up unless I lose, so I pretty much brought all my units back to defense on my home flag.
Well, we see Overdose's army really going after Wings, and Father Xmas is going all in against Overdose, so it's really kind of this...
He pan a little bit south, or a little down. Yeah, I just want to have a little bit more of a view there. See what that Father Xmas Digin was doing.
Okay. Yeah, this might be it here. This could be the showdown between Overdose and Father Xmas.
And again, kind of a little bit down. Walter Wight ends up sneaking, I think, somewhere in here.
1 minute remaining.
Maybe it's in a little bit, a minute.
I mean, at this point,
there he comes.
I don't think Father Xmas and Overdose really care about the game type. They're just trying to kill each other.
This is the bloody end to the hate play.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, you know, I have second place locked up, again, unless Wings or Father Xmas can close out the game, you know? So I'm not really playing for anything. Father Xmas was the one who had to disengage and start tagging some flags, but again, he just was intent on, you know, for the third straight game, just rushing me. So, you know, what am I supposed to do? Again, you know, you could make the argument that Father Xmas really ruined these final games.
Yeah, I think when someone attacks you, they see you as a threat, so it's almost a form of flattery. You know, he still ended up with third place, so presumably if he just took you out of the game, you know, he could have gotten second, maybe first, but I think ultimately you guys would have just demolished each other early, and neither one of you would have taken even third. So, yeah, I think it was a hard game, but you know, despite his attacking you and you showing some aggression early on, you know, you guys take some top spots. But again, you got a life save because you take second, and he ends up taking a loss.
Yeah. So I mean, at this point, he's really just hurting himself, and you know, now you know, with Glassjaw gone, even though you know, we're still just letting him play, even you know, he's technically out. You know, that sort of puts Father Xmas on the chopping block, and I think he's probably got 1 or 2 lives left at this point, which is in stark contrast to you know, the amazing statistics that he put up in the first few weeks. So yeah, enough of that. This is King of the Hill Gyre, which would have been, I think, Father Xmas's choice. You know, so again, 3 access points, this incline, and this one here. You know, this starting location is vacant, so Glassjaw actually has a really good opportunity to secure this area here and stack some time. We have Father Xmas and Overdose starting next to each other with a common incline based off how they were sort of at each other's throats these last few games. We'll have to see if that trend continues.
I was going to say, like, that is quite the myth gods, you know, really poking the hornet's nest this time, letting you two be around each other. One interesting thing I wanted to point out is in a 5-person game on a 6-person map, it just strategically trying to be aware of that and understanding, you know, there's going to be one person with an advantage. Try to make it you as opposed to anyone else. So if you find out that you're going to have a battle before you can even reach the flag, knowing another team would reach the flag with 100%, it's better to kind of hold back a little bit. It's not last man on the hill. You still need to get time on the flag, but, you know, maybe don't be 100% aggressive. Like maybe Father Xmas is wanting to be here.
Yeah, again, we just see an all-out rush from Father Xmas. Overdose is running for his life. Again, you know, it's not really in anybody's best interest to just go for the complete rush. Overdose might white himself there if he doesn't take care of that. But, you know, I think at this point, Overdose might have to just turn around and fight.
It's a hard position to turn around and fight, though. But yeah, your fast units were getting quickly caught up to as your artillery units started to slow them down. So really hard to be on the run on this map with those fetch just be able to clean up quite a bit.
Yeah, again, you know,
Contested.
Father Xmas just completely ignoring he's taking leave of his senses, as people would say back in the day. Overdose able to kill Father Xmas's fetch, but, you know, both Father Xmas and Overdose are well taken sort of out of this game.
Perhaps he thought you were going, just based on your position, he didn't give, you know, a player like Wings enough credit, so he felt like you being in second place was the person that needed to be brought down a few. And so, but still to throw out all of your own lives, you know, in the hope of just kind of lessening your chances, that's an interesting move.
It really goes against the spirit of Myth. We see Wings completely letting this Glassjaw Soulless walk right by him. Not sure if there's potentially an alliance with them. Well, we do see Glassjaw now going after Wings, so maybe Wings just didn't see that Soulless there. But now it's really just a you know, Walter Wight's game to lose with 86%.
And the only 2 fetch left on the map.
Yeah, it looks like Walter might get a white in here. Okay, maybe he popped a little too late, but he's still able to freeze these mauls. Yeah,
I feel like if I recall, I was a little hyper-focused on just trying to get my fetch in their absolute right place, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I got that white thing. But yeah, it was about a second too late.
Yeah, and it looks like this game is pretty much about wrapped up again. You know, it doesn't seem like anyone really attacked you. And
well, so that was what I was talking about earlier. So knowing that once I saw that I had an opponent on either side, I got some quick time on the flag and kind of danced a bit, but really tried to make myself as unthreatening as possible to give Wings a clear avenue up. And then Wings was fighting Glassjaw, and the second that they started engaging each other is when, you know, I moved in and hit Wings from behind, and I think it's an awful move to do a sandwich on someone, but you know, in these competitive games, you gotta take players that are as talented as Wings out when you can.
Well, keep in mind this is a casual zone.
Oh, look at those fetch there.
Yeah, getting pussed by somebody, it looks like.
I think there was a puss in the water, what had been a dud puss.
But yeah, I mean, this is really over at this point. You know, I don't see, unless there's a concerted effort between Father Xmas and Wings to just kind of rush you. Which again, Father Xmas isn't really talking anymore. He's just seeing red at this point. You know, this game is over, and even, you know, mathematically it's over as well. So yeah, I mean,
it would have been an interesting thing that we could have done. I still don't think it would have mattered in the long run for Glassjaw, but you know, being in the finals, so to speak, even though he was eliminated, if he took, you know, second place, getting a life back and being, you know, back in it for a second would have been one way we could think about in the future. But
well, you don't get a life, you just don't lose a life. So he would.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, like, once you're eliminated in the finals or something, it might be just getting too convoluted, but could be fun.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. You know, the thing about casuals is that there really aren't any rules that are set in stone.
Well, that's usually the case with Myth World Cup, too.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends who the host is, I guess. Because there have been some hosts in the past, I think, who were, you know, they observed the letter of the law and just were completely inflexible, whereas there's others who would just kind of improvise. So we've seen the complete range of hosts for both serious tournaments and casual tournaments alike, and You know, everyone's got their own tournament strategy, or tournament operating strategy, or so to speak, and I don't think there really is a right or wrong way to do it. You know, but at the same time, the attendance and the you know, the fun that people have sort of speaks for itself. Anyway, yeah, we got Hills here, Assassin. The assassin target is the journeyman.
I think all players that were in attendance for previous weeks where some of those crazy maps were played that you didn't, unless you really look for that weird box around the assassin unit, you would assume some units are assassin units and some aren't. Like everyone was curious to really figure out what the assassin unit was on this and really look for that box around the journeyman.
Yeah. Father Xmas says, looking for OD again. He just has a complete disregard for the game type. I have no idea what he's doing. One thing to note, there is a bow here. Again, I don't think... Yeah, Overdose saying, what is that yellow bow in the mid? I don't think anyone really knows, because I believe this was Glassjaw's pick, and he doesn't even know. So, like... it's really kind of a bizarre pick.
As he says, yeah, in a minute.
It's a really bizarre choice from Glassjaw to choose a map that he doesn't really know. So yeah, again, you know, a five start free for all is tough to have sort of fair games. Glassjaw, I think he's making a move to the middle. I think we're just kind of scouting each other out. Your guys are sort of backing off now, and let's see, Wings making a move on Father Xmas maybe.
Or vice versa.
Oh. Father Xmas is bombing himself. That's not a good look. Now we see...
now, the other thing to
Walter Wight
consider
going
is the French tend to love really good wine, and Father Xmas may have had some really good wine that could account for some of his play, but we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he could have had good wine, and also a bad attitude. So that's, I think, what have happened. So I
Could
think,
be on his epitaph.
yeah, good wine, bad attitude.
Drink
So yeah,
wine.
I think oh yeah. So this Glassjaw unit here did pick up the golden bow.
Which I think
guess
traditionally I've seen that either shoot lightning, which could be devastating, or be like a stone arrow, which is fine, but you really have to use it well. But maybe if you could get the stone on the journeyman, you know, that could be a win.
If you look at the unit description, it says can pick up bow of lightning on certain maps. So I think this is the certain map, and I think that yellow thing was the bow of lightning. So I think you are correct there. However, I think... Oh, no, it must be one of these guys. But yeah, Glassjaw does have the bow of lightning. We'll see if he actually uses it.
Yeah, could we keep that unit selected? I was curious to see if he ever did use it.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see here. It's one of these guys. Wait, is it? Yeah, there it is. Okay. It's Yun Joyle. Yun Joyle. We'll keep an eye on Yun Joyle. Meanwhile, we see Father Xmas and Wings going at it. Oh, that's... You're never going to be killing dwarves, you know, walking up a hill like that. Or standing on satchel charges. But one of the interesting things is that both Wings and Glassjaw have decided to detach their journeymen from their sort of main army and just kind of stash them away, whereas both Overdose and Walter Wight are keeping the target with their main army, which I think is...
And Father Xmas there, yeah.
Well, I mean, Father Xmas, he didn't really have a chance to move his journeyman out. But yeah, I think this is when I had a business call that I had to take. So I I was just kind of messing around. I wasn't really playing, so we'll just focus over here.
And this, I think Walter gets finally a vision on a journeyman, but it wasn't Father Xmas's, at least, or perhaps he knew that only his 5 Myrmidons wouldn't be able to take it, but he thought maybe we can take Wings, but also kind of leads Glassjaw there, so...
Actually, something that might have worked would have been like a bottle pus. Oh, that's not good. Blew up your own goal. But
in retrospect, but I only know because it had a hard death. If I could have waited to get that, to have Wings go closer, I should have thrown the pus to let the dwarf blow up the journeyman, but then it would have only made Wings have negative. It wouldn't have given me a kill. So Glassjaw takes the victory from Wings there.
Yeah, good job from Glassjaw. You know, sometimes when you're out of the tournament, you just kind of give up all hope, but he's still out here competing, and that's something that you absolutely love to see. I think I'm still on the business call. I think I decided to just send my units to the middle and just see if anyone approaches. Not exactly the best way to play this game type, but you know.
I think only because you told me, but afterwards you landed the deal, right? Like it was like a multi-million-dollar thing that you had going on, and you nailed it.
No, there was no deal. It was a case of my intern again for the millionth time messing up, and you know, it's a case where, you know, having interns, which are supposed to make your life easier, ends up making your life much more difficult, because now you're basically working for 2 people, and yeah,
You're saying it was the exact opposite of what I said.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you know, it is the exact opposite of what you said. But one thing that I am saying is that you are completely camping. Father Xmas, I mean, maybe he's trying to find somebody. I'm not really sure. It doesn't seem like he's scouting. He's just keeping his army together.
I think he saw that I had come from the south, so I actually do think he's looking.
Okay.
Meanwhile, all of Glassjaw is chasing my fastest units, but I think he knows that I'm also kind of scouting the map, and that his journeyman's got to be somewhere. So he really doesn't want me to find his journeyman, but unfortunately, he actually he reveals his hand to me in the way that he's being so aggressive.
Yeah. Well,
chasing my units with slower units.
Also, mathematically, though, Glassjaw is currently guaranteed 2nd place. I mean, I realize that he's out of the tournament, but you know, he's in 1st place. But at the same time, you know, if someone were to get 2 kills, then he will be, you know, by default 2nd place.
That's what I'm saying. If like even getting 2nd place in these later on would have given him 2 lives back or whatever, it would, you know, be a game changer. But again, that might be, you know, too much of a can of worms to open up. So
and Father Xmas detaching his assassin unit completely exposed, whereas, you know, his army is just, I think,
finally sees me.
But I don't know if he's going to engage. Overdose is in the middle, still probably on the call.
So are you insinuating that he doesn't want to engage because we had some sort of deal?
No, I don't think it's that. I just think that... that was a nice kill there with what, like 4 guys with his entire army there? I don't know how that happened.
We probably should have focused on that, but yeah, once I spotted it, I knew that if I can get them, all of my units clumped close enough. He only had kind of Thrall Elite nearby, and they wouldn't quite swing fast enough, and so these Myrmidons can really do a number on your journeyman. So Father Xmas finally engaging. Does seem more sloppy than his usual play.
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell at this point. But yeah, he doesn't even seem to be attacking. He's just kind of rushing
I think
without attacking.
he double clicked. I think he double clicked on the journeyman. So that's why I'm just like sending even archers to punch, firbolg punch. They don't stab.
Well, he does have.
And just trying to, and so then I got in the way of my own guys. I'm like, oh, let's get back.
No, Father Xmas, he turned around his guys by accident. I think he might have misclicked. He probably could have chased down this journeyman, but instead these warriors got stuck. And now I think Father Xmas is gonna get eliminated here.
I'd be upset if Father Xmas was trying to help me win. You know, I think that would be just against the whole spirit of it.
Well, I mean, I don't think so, because he did stash his journeyman way up in the corner again, which is a questionable tactic, especially with a lot of fast units like goals. Even though I don't think anyone has any at this point. Overdose still AFK, I think, but
I think he detached it before you said you're on the call. So he might be offering a peace offering, because if you're even slightly aware, you should be able to have found it.
Yeah, but I don't think a goal can kill a journeyman. I don't even think like 2 or 3 goals can kill a journeyman. Like those guys.
Well, but you can scout for it. You know, like there were like 4 minutes left or something when he moved it up there, and so if you found it, presumably you could outmaneuver him. Because as you'll see, I'm running out of time, but I'm combing the map trying to find where Father Xmas's target is now, and I finally find it. I thought that he would be able to run away a little faster, but he wasn't.
Well, journeymen are notoriously slow, and I think they're proud of it because of the big wool jackets that they carry.
But he also makes some questionable heals here as well for a journeyman. Like there's no real reason to heal that. One could argue that he's trying to slow down the goal to get a free hit, but then he heals again, so
could just
be
going
better
for damage.
It could be, but you know, if someone gets an undead unit like I just
got
got there, it would be much better to have a heal to heal it.
And this journeyman is actually probably going to kill that Myrmidon. Yeah,
Walter just a little too slow.
Yeah, well, I mean, you already locked this up, so.
Well, locked up second place, but you know, it's still you don't lose a life. But on the other end, you know, you always like to come in for one.
I'm sorry, man, but your quarter's used up.
All right. Well, I mean, that was kind of a strange game again because you know, I had some other stuff to tend to.
Yeah, I think everyone assumed it was still a 5-person game, but yeah, Overdose. How did you end up with -1? Was my question.
Because I killed my journeyman here once I got off the phone.
Oh, just because you knew you were out anyways. Okay, got it.
I mean, I was trying to save people some time. You know, Father Xmas is the one wasting everybody's time, but you know, again, that's
you should have just run into me. You know, so
testament to the type of player he is. Anyway, so
I love him. So far, it's only come to my advantage. So
just meet him in real life, and then your opinion will change very quickly. But yeah,
have you met him in real life?
Yeah, I met Father Xmas in real life, unfortunately. But so those were the first 5 games. We will now move on to the 2-team games. Did you want to take a break, Walter?
No, I think we can truck on.
Okay. So
unless you do.
No, I'm okay. But these are the. This is both the final 6 games of the casuals only regular tournament, but also part of Paris's what's it called? Paris
Draft series.
Paris. Yeah, well, we could look it up here. What is it called?
Paris
Pars
Draft
2020
Tournament.
draft tournament. So today, or sorry, last Sunday, the teams are this. Again,
Team Shad, Team Asmo, Team Paris, Team Walter Wight.
yeah, one thing to notice is that the teams have been sort of shifted and juggled around from week to week. The team captains are really the only sort of constants, I think. But, for perspective, both Father and Xmas and I were on Team Shad in week 1. And then in week 2, I don't think Father Xmas and I played. But, all of a sudden, week 3, Father Xmas is on Team Walter. I'm on Team Asmo. And a bunch of other guys are on Team Shad instead. And, I don't recall anybody actually showing up for Team Shad. I don't think Genghis showed up. Glassjaw showed up. But, in week 2, Glassjaw was on Team Paris. And as well as week 1. So,
Well, I think that's a little bit of a difficult thing for this that Paris is trying to work around. Is you have a handful of really impactful players, and they're regularly not available week to week. They're available here and there, and so Paris kind of tries to at least have a team captain and hopefully one strong player that commits each week. And then from there, you can kind of have the captain, you can have someone join the captain, and then the captain essentially goes against the other captain, kickball style, to draft players. And so that's why it's the draft series is each week. Although these teams are there, it ultimately becomes a kind of winding, hope I'm not the fat kid sort of thing.
well, the person who gets picked last, it doesn't really matter. I think the most important thing is that people play. Like there's no pride in these games going on. We're all playing, a 20-plus-year-old game, and in my case, in your case, right now, we're commenting on games that were played, in the past of a 20-plus-year-old game. So what does that make us look
What
like?
are we doing? Yeah, and why did I order that Myth Champ vanity plate?
Exactly. So, but yeah, long story short is that the teams are slightly different from week to week. And so I am no longer on Team Shad. I was on Team Asmodean, and Father Xmas was on Team Walter Wight. This kind of threw a wrench into my casuals only plans, because I had envisioned me and Father Xmas being on Team Shad, you and Wings being on, of course, your own team, and then Glassjaw being on either Team Asmo or Team Paris. And I think one of the set matches was Team Shad versus Team Walter, and that would have been me and Xmas versus you and Wings, and Glassjaw would have been on either one of our teams, which would have made sense for the purposes of the casuals only regular tournament. But it just so happens now that you, Wings, and Father Xmas are all on the same team, and then I'm by myself on Team Asmo, and Glassjaw is now on Team Shad. So it really kind of threw a wrench into my whole line of thinking for merging both the casuals tournament and Paris's tournament. But I think at this point we just said, screw it, however the...
Well, I think but it was when we had seen how these teams were laid out, we said, screw it. But then as it turned out, most of these players didn't show. So it became a draft tournament anyways. And then we kind of said, well, it kind of works out. Let's just play it. Isn't that's how I recalled it, but maybe different.
That is not how I recall it, but let's just jump into this.
Because obviously these teams that we see listed here are not the same teams that end up getting listed.
I don't think so. I mean, I know it is Team Paris versus Team Shad in the first series, but Team Shad only has Father Xmas, who was clearly not on that team. He was on your team, so we'll see what the draft actually is. Here we go. And so right off the bat, one thing to notice is that it's 5-on-4. So Team Shad already at a sort of disadvantage. Also, the player pool is slightly different now. We have Scratch, Ion, and Paris and Shad sort of joining the field as, of course, part of the Paris draft tournament. So I think those are the new players, so to speak.
And Paris had done a fun tactic the game before, which was played out, where Shad, unfortunately, his connection dropped, so he had to drop midway through, and so his comment, "Want to do it again," was about, should we do that? Just do the same strategy? And he thought we were on voice, but eventually we say, no, yeah, we can do it again.
So what was the strategy? Was I part of it? I don't even remember.
Yeah, he listed it out more so in the last game, but I think do you recall if you went south or north?
I think I went north with Scratch.
Yeah. And it's just like a heavy bowman strategy, which is not always common. It's not always the way Paris plays. But, and so I think he thought, maybe Shad understood that Paris had gotten heavy archers. Maybe he shouldn't do that again. But, yeah, he ultimately went with the same thing. And so regardless, we'll kind of get to see what that strategy ends up being once we get past planning time here.
Yeah, one thing to note is that these games had 4-minute planning time, which is kind of excessive if you ask me. But
yeah, let's see what units that Shad goes with, though.
Okay, well, as you can see, Shad, I believe, has about half as many archers and a lot more thrall, whereas Team Paris, of course, has almost maxed out archers and no thrall. I think those are the key differences.
Well, and an interesting thing to note, no whites for pus.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting from Team Paris. Shad,
but that was also part of the strategy too. So
Shad with 6 whites. Personally, I just like I like sinking whites. That's what I like doing. But yeah, it is what it is. So Scratch with some archers, Overdose with a warrior pack. I think I was being told to go north with Scratch, Paris, and maybe you and Paris going south or something. Wait, no.
No, so Paris gave me about a third of the units, and then I split mine with Ion. Ion, a player that gets a lot of flack a lot of the time, and so I really understand his play. I like playing with him. So Paris kind of said, let's have Ion and Walter together, and so both of us are middle, and yeah, we go from there.
Okay, well, just I think quickly. I think we have we have maybe Wings going middle with his thrall, Father Xmas going north with his warriors, Shad possibly going south with his warriors. Yeah, Shad is going to go south with 2 groups of warriors, Glassjaw, and probably Wings are going to hold the middle. That's my diagnosis.
Flag capture.
And
Seems good, Doctor.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, so again, we see Overdose
Flag capture.
and Scratch in the north, Paris in the south, Walter Wight and Ion in the middle.
I love this thing. If you see this goal crossing middle, that Paris had said the last game, and I guess for whatever reason it resonated with me, is he said, "Get eyes on the other team," and he really just means like have a unit just get back there and see exactly what they're doing. So we right now know where about 90% of their units are just because of this one goal, whereas they don't have any true vision on us yet. Also, that goal coincidentally is able to steal a good pus from their backfield in a moment because they don't pick them all
That just
up.
sounds like a rookie mistake on Team Shad's part, or maybe they intentionally left that there for you. Who knows? But yeah, so Father Xmas is going up 2-on-1 versus Overdose and Scratch. That's going to be kind of tough for them to do. Paris, you know, he does have the archers, so he's going to have a pretty good advantage going up against these Shad warriors, even though I don't think he's necessarily going to try and push too hard because he doesn't want to get rushed. Meanwhile, I think there's going to be a battle here between Walter Wight and Wings. However, you have 8 bowmen, he has 6, so he's sort of...
Which was a different split between Ion and me from the last game. I noticed kind of what he was doing. I think that he's stronger if he can focus on less units, so give him 1 dwarf as opposed to 4 archers to focus on.
Oh man, that's my language right there. I like 1 type of unit. But okay, so we see Paris, he's making a push with his archers. We'll see if Shad eventually just kind of rushes him. I don't think he would because of these 2 dwarfs right here, but I mean, he's not just going to keep backing up forever, that's for sure. So I don't know what he's planning on doing. Meanwhile, this archers fight here, everyone is still more or less alive, and a solidly green Ion perhaps showing us maybe some World War II skills by dodging some of these arrows. Up north, we have a sort of stalemate here as well, even though I think Scratch is making a push across the river to potentially box in Father Xmas. Overdose, again, dancing with a goal. I'll try and get both of these engagements in the same
Flag capture.
camera.
We can see in the Myth in-game chat, Shad trying to give some coaching here, a bit aggressively. Keep Dwarf behind, don't waste him.
Which dwarf is he talking about? I don't even know.
It may have been wasted. It must have been Glassjaws, it looks like, is the only dwarf who's now positioned behind.
I mean,
But
I don't see any dead dwarves anywhere. I don't know.
I don't think he had lost a dwarf. I think Glassjaw took the criticism or the
This
the
are you talking about
feedback.
this guy?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
think it must have been up. But Shad, as we know, is not a light-spoken person. He tends to give pretty angry teaching.
Well, you heard it here first. Walter Wight thinks Shad gives very angry teachings, but we see Father Xmas making a rush on Overdose and Scratch's units.
Oh, the dwarf falls there.
The Overdose gets a nice pus there to freeze a few of these warriors. Meanwhile, Scratch is...
And really great, just picking away with those archers.
Yeah, he's
just like
absolutely shooting my guys in the back. Meanwhile, there's still... I mean, Paris is slowly grinding down Shad's warriors, it looks like. You know, we see some dead bodies here and there. Yeah, but still, just more or less a stalemate in the middle as well. You
Terries
still
even says, be aggressive with archers.
you have all of your archers, and they have all of their archers. Oh, now you just lost one, but you know, I think you're going to make a move on that goal, which is good. Ion still kind of dancing around, but now Overdose and Scratch are coming from the north. They have defeated Father Xmas, perhaps a little vengeance from that despicable way he played those free-for-all games, and now Team Shad is getting a bit boxed in here. Shad himself is forced to retreat. Paris is going to kill some straggling thrall, I think.
If we look at just the unit percentages in general in the F7, it's kind of becoming Paris's team's game already.
Yeah, I mean, it is getting pretty lopsided at this point. And now Scratch with these 8 archers, they're probably just going to shoot Wings as archers. You know, Father Xmas, or sorry, Walter Wight, you should really be going after these archers here because we just have them completely surrounded. But instead you're shooting Thrall for some reason.
Taking shots at the dwarf originally.
Well,
and
I
then
saw you
those
taking
archers
some
weren't.
shots at the Thrall, man.
Well, the archers were no longer in range. It was a quick shot.
But now these Wings archers are actually, they're still alive. Scratch is sort of in retreat mode from these Thrall, but coming from the south, we now see.
So this is the type of thing you'd like to see from Shad's Thrall much earlier. You know, is that kind of like slow imminence against, you know, the obvious fact that we have so many archers. You could definitely, you know, like the Thrall eventually can take over anything, but you would hope that, you know, with a proper plus timing or dwarf timing, they could have done a lot more. But, you know, those Thrall are just meat at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really tough. It was really tough for Team Shad because it was 4-on-5. You know, one thing as, you know, a 5-on-4 advantage is, you know, look for the 2-on-1 mismatch, which was up here in the north, me and Scratch against Father Xmas. You know, I think Father Xmas could have, instead of attacking us, you know, which would have been, you know, again, even with my pedestrian reg myth skills, it's still a tall order to beat anyone 2-on-1. So perhaps he could have backed up a little bit and called for some reinforcements or something, and maybe Wings' Thrall could have moved up north and you know, tried to stall or do something like that. But you know, a lot of myth really comes down to identifying mismatches, and I think you know, Father Xmas engaging me and Scratch, you know, by himself, 2 versus 1, was not an optimal decision. Again, even though it was 4 versus 3 or 4 versus 5. So I mean, it's a difficult situation either way. But yeah, I mean, that was game number 1. So Team Paris goes up 1-0. I'll remind everybody that each match is 3 games. So yeah. Paris takes down game number 1. On to game number 2. This will be Flag Rally, Poison Holiday, Dark. And again, we have a 4-minute long planning time. I think I might just cut this in half here because
yeah, at least get to the unit trades here, and yeah. Okay. So Paris telling Overdose to go to this flag over here. It was circled on the overhead map.
Oh God,
I recall because we were both in the same game here. But Paris has very specific instructions. It should be noted that Amazi is a brand new player, and so Paris is trying to coach him throughout. And then since Paris has very limited experience with Ion, also kind of trying to coach him throughout. But Paris is good at, you know, like letting people know in a non-aggressive way, kind of, you know, play here. You don't get too too offensive, or back up, or whatever. So a good leader, good coach, good person to learn from if you get the chance to play from him for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that the trades. I mean, Shad did get some soulless, but for the most part, I think they have pretty similar trades. One huge difference though is that Shad did decide to split his trow 3 ways. So Wings, Shad himself, and Father Xmas all have 1 trow. On fetch duty is Glassjaw and Shad. So actually, Shad has fetch and a trow, and all the mortars. Okay, so maybe he's not done distributing. I'm not really sure, but
and that seems like a bad set for any one player to have, regardless of how good you are.
On the contrary, though, or sorry, conversely, Paris has all 3 trow for his own team. On fetch duty is Scratch and Walter Wight, and mortars for Ion, Maisie, and Overdose. Yeah, so again, it's 6 on 5. Wish we could have had some more even games. Also, a shout out, we did talk about Amazy. We didn't give a hello to Gerald Toad, who decided to join for the second game. He missed the first game, but always good to see him. We see an errant shot by Amazy doing a little damage to one of your Mercridia. All things considered, that could have gone a lot worse. So,
yeah, I kind of paused all my units because I was like, "Wait, what?" And I was happy it was only that. But.
Yeah, so we see Paris pretty much going all in on the west. He should be able to tag flag number 4 very easily. Overdose in the east with a bunch of melee units and a mortar. He's going to see this trow coming up. That's going to be a problem. Meanwhile, Walter Wight is going up the middle.
I think once we were able to communicate in the middle, one trow mid, we know that all their trow are separate. So that gives Paris as a captain insight. Okay, so I have all 3. They're split. Now he can start making changes and adjustments, hopefully. He wanted us to get all the flags. Typically, I've seen this played where flag 5, the one that you're on, Overdose, is if anyone can make it their home flag, that becomes a great place. But you weren't given enough units to offset this at all.
That was a bad dud right there.
But, really bad dud.
One thing I could have done was just retreated.
But with that trow on your heels, really you couldn't. And so you took more damage by at least standing for a little bit than you could have retreating.
Yeah, well,
is what I
thought. All their Zerks, I guess, but now we see
because what happened in that last Gyre in the Wave game, you were retreating versus dark units, and you're just going to get eaten alive there. Yeah, you did a better decision by just holding.
Well,
but the unfortunate thing is
that mortar had a bad decision by not lighting his cannonball on fire.
Yeah, that dud hurt. But
so there's no presence in the middle, so I think you've decided to rotate to the.
So
to the
Paris
east.
says Walter go east as a captain, and that's where I'm picking out all these rogue fetch here.
Yeah, these fetch.
But right now,
completely unprotected. I think you might have just shot your guys in the back there. But, okay, so now a big fight's going down here.
Victory imminent.
One of Shad's trow is very red.
And the red team just got victory imminent. And so now it becomes completely evident that Paris's team hopefully has defense on their final flag, which would be flag 6. Because they have this game pretty much wrapped up.
This is flag 6.
But that flag is
completely vacant.
Not accounted for.
Team Wings just has to crawl there. Overdose going to kill these mortars here, but I don't think there is anything that Team Paris can do to stop this tag. Gerald prematurely saying, "Good game, guys."
Flag
And there we
captured.
go. So yeah, I mean, when it came to a sort of body count match, I think we were able to out damage them. Paris's decision to have all three trow, was really effective. He just kind of went right up the east coast, or the west coast, sorry, and just tag all these flags here and make a push for their home flag number 2. That was a strong move. My guys got wiped out, but you had a strong force moving from the middle, going eastward, killing those fetch, and then you were making a beeline for, what is this, flag 3. So
Yeah, if we could play the game in hindsight, having a little more support for you would have been great. I think that but basically those two middle flags on the east and west are crucial to the game, and you need to have those. You need to win one and then make it your flag. What was interesting is so Shad's team, although they won, they had originally taken west, but then they gave it up before they were even able to take the east. And so, had we made one of our flags at least more defensive, we probably would have had a better outcome. But then, since we lost both middle flags and we didn't have anyone on defense, it was game over.
Yep, exactly. But as it is, great effort, great leadership from Team Shad. Way to bounce back from that game 1 loss. Again, at a one-person disadvantage, still able to to get a victory. And I think the MVP of the game would probably be Wings. I mean, he was the one who was sort of swooped down flag number 5, and he just continued on to flag number, 7, and then closed out the game with flag number 6. So great job.
But I want to point out that his play just in all of these games has been usually top percentage in terms of kills and damage. It's just has he been able to get there, for the game type, or has he been right in the middle of a feud war or anything? But great play by Wings for sure.
Yep. All right, and with that, we have game number 8, which this is a familiar map as we saw it just a few games ago. Hills of Venice, rather. Tournament edition Assassin.
Yeah, we should see some different units because this will be 2-team, but that's good for players unfamiliar with Myth to know. The units have certainly changed. The map meshes may be the same, but it's a completely different game based on what chess pieces you have, even if they're World War II units.
Yeah, exactly. Is that Kronjak? Or, oh no, that Taro. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey.
Welcome, Taro.
Just creepily listening to you guys talk.
How long have you been here?
15 minutes.
Okay. Well,
I saw him come in, but I figured that I wouldn't, say anything. No, everyone's welcome for sure.
Absolutely.
So, just welcome.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, sorry for barging in. I just saw it at the side of that you were having something going on. And a long time since I showed up, so.
It's been a minute since I've seen you.
I was just enjoying.
Are we still on the stream? Because if so, then welcome. If not, then we will bring you up next game.
Oh yeah. I have. Are you guys making games at the same days of the week? Tuesdays or weekends?
It kind of depends. Lately, it's been Saturdays and Sundays, one or the other, sort of four different things. This cast is kind of the culmination of the casuals, tournament, which is kind of, it's just for fun, getting guys together, having a good time, playing some regular Myth, and then there's World War II players playing on Sundays now. And I think a new casuals tournament that we might talk about soon.
But also
coming up, in October.
Also, we have this Paris draft tournament, which is going on right now. The finals is this Saturday. What is it at 2 o'clock Eastern time?
Nice.
I'm sure if you drop by, you'll be able to get some games in. There's 4 teams. As you can see, there's an uneven amount of teams, and most of these players don't even show up. So if you were to drop by Saturday at 2 o'clock Eastern, you'll probably be able to get some games in, and we'd love to play either with you or against you, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, just to get some games in with you again would be fun.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time on weekends now because after the pandemic, I work in entertainment, music, and as a technician, and also playing. So the jobs are back, and they happen at weekends. So it's been
Yeah,
hard
exactly.
to come by. So we
So,
started.
so the
something
interesting thing, yeah, so I think like Thursday nights oftentimes are pretty good for players that aren't able on weekends.
Oh, okay.
So Thursdays and yeah, I don't know how Tuesdays have been lately. I guess right now we're casting, so I don't know for sure. But yeah, I think I'd noticed before we were doing these casuals games on the weekends that Thursdays were really picking up quite a bit.
Okay. Well, I'll check out Thursdays then.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we could
That's
also
a nice cast you guys are doing as well. I find those really interesting when I can see them in real time, and you guys are talking about strats. I really like the way you guys analyze everything.
Oh, well, thanks for the feedback. We'll try and keep it up. You know, I mean, there's only so many games we can cast, though. So the most important thing is to just keep getting games. You know, but
Well, and feel free to stick around even if you don't want to say anything. But if you do, yeah, kind of let us know, and we'll kind of give you a shout out. But
yeah,
Sure.
Walter White tends to talk a lot. You could feel free to interrupt him, so don't worry about that.
No,
You
man,
jerk.
I'm sure I'm worth. Except I don't really know what I'm talking about in regarding to miss games. So I just like to listen, so I might learn a thing or two.
Well, I mean, honestly, I don't think we really know what we're talking about either. We're just having a good time. But also, we did just finish up this casuals tournament. It's possible, Walter, maybe if we could integrate some weekday play. Most of the time we play the weekends just for the European people.
Nice.
Are you in Europe right now?
No, I'm Brazilian. I'm in Brazil, south
Oh,
of
okay,
Brazil.
yeah, that's right. Okay, so, maybe if you can't make weekend games, then we'll try to focus on those Thursday nights or something like that, and screw the European people. If they're in bed already, then that's their problem. So,
Oh man, you don't have to move all the tournament just because I'm kind of I can't get a regular schedule because of the I never know the days when I'm going to work. I work for people who are very disorganized, and we're in
But I
Brazil.
think that's the case for a lot of people. Yeah.
Oh yeah. After
So that's the
pandemic,
fun
everything
time.
got kind of loose, right?
Yeah, and I think that's potentially why this like casuals Discord has been really positive. It's like it's for people that don't have regular lives and things like that, and have to
Nice,
basically play Myth for fun and have a lot of fun doing it.
nice. Yeah, it's a nice community, man. I mean, we've been dropping in and out since 2015, I think, but never as close as now.
Yeah, it's getting closer and closer, and the community is better than ever, I would say. With the possible exception of like just when COVID started, I think a lot of people were at home and going stir crazy. I think Myth, all of a sudden, a single lobby was becoming too full to host all the players for a minute there. But in terms of regularity, we're really in an upswing, which is fun to see.
Nice.
Yeah,
You guys
sorry.
have any luck getting new players in, or that's always hard, right?
Well, I mean,
What's interesting is I think as a testament to overdose. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, I'm a talker. Yeah, but a testament to overdose is these videos have brought a lot of people in.
Nice. Yeah. That's what I think, because there are lots of stages of getting close to myth, right? If you're not someone who has been playing since the beginning of the game, that is, at different moments you get enthusiastic for different reasons, and that involves your learning curve and how much of the multiplayer involvement you're getting. So for the first for as a first step, you're getting to learn a game. You start playing alone, you get good alone, you finish the game, then you discover multiplayer, try not to make an ass of yourself and fuck up the team, and then you get the adrenaline of really working on an interesting team and all the strategy involved, and that's where, I mean, you never want to get out again. Right? But I'm not sure all the players have the same kind of how do you say, of a curve
Mentality, sure.
involvement, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think that there's this aspect of it's a game that is unlike a lot of games because like pretty much every key on one's keyboard can do something and create like an advantage for you. And most
Yeah.
people play games that there's like 5 buttons,
Yeah.
or and it's or just a controller that you hold. But this is like a game that has a lot of different ways that you can develop, and sometimes you reach that learning curve and get dissuaded. But the hope is that like if you are wondering about like a particular skill that you're not as good at, how can we kind of develop you to keep that enthusiasm up? Because I think just genuinely it's fun to blow things up, and see
Yeah.
the graphics that were maybe allowed back in the days of 1998 that may or may not always be allowed nowadays in terms of
Yeah.
gore or whatever.
Yeah, it has a kind of a good dark humor that good trash movies
For
have,
sure, for sure.
and it's just sometimes it's just genuinely funny, man, and this tragic comic kind of fun. It's you have to have a specific kind of taste to appreciate that, right? And I get myself trying to convince people to play, but people nowadays they have a hard time either with the graphics or they're just pussies, right? And when in regards to learning the game. But with people who have been playing with me, I mean, we have like 3 or 4 guys here in Brazil. It's a blast every time, man. So
Yeah, one thing I have to ask is how is your English so good and Selah's English so bad?
uh, well, my father was German, and he chose to speak English to us at home. He was also an English teacher.
Okay,
So I grew
that
up
makes
speaking
sense.
the language. Yeah, yeah,
Well, and also you're not a lawyer.
exactly. Thank God, man.
Okay.
Yeah, but says English is really bad, and but he's also very brave to try and speak, even though he sucks so bad.
I think that's a little bit of just a razz in general. I've never had trouble understanding, say, when he plays, but I think so many players like Overdose give him like little grief that he's like he gets scared, but at the same time, it's like, come on.
Well, the reality is that we Americans, we don't even speak a second language, so we take a foreign language in high school for like 3 years, and that's about it. So, the fact that anyone could speak more than one language is amazing to me. So
Yeah,
For sure.
I think Brazilians learn English, well, especially nerds, because of computers and games.
and pornography, yeah,
And yeah, of
absolutely,
course, sure, maybe more than all the others.
yeah,
How
yeah.
do you learn English from porno? I'm just wondering about that logic, Overdose.
I mean,
Like,
you don't watch
ooh,
pornography.
ah?
You don't watch porn for the movies, the content, the storylines.
The story, come on, man, so intricate.
I guess I need to put that on my Netflix queue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
man,
you know what plumbers really do? They don't fix your toilet, man. They're doing other things. The pizza
they're so
man, they do other
eloquent.
things.
You learn a
Yeah.
lot.
Okay, so anyway, let's not get too off topic here. So this
Yeah, we
is
might start sending links and shit.
oh, we don't want any links. Okay, so this is game number 3. This
Oh,
it is currently Paris's team won, Shad's team won, and this is the third game, Assassin Hills of Venice Tournament Edition. Here we go.
Okay. Guys, I'm gonna have to jump out right now. It's kind of late here, so I just popped in. I was just curious. And whenever you guys are doing this again, if you don't mind sending, just tagging everyone. I don't know if you already did that, but whenever you do something like that, I would like to know, and if I can, I would like to watch. With a
Okay,
little
man.
time.
well, I think next Saturday is the final day of Paris's tournament, so we'll probably be doing this again. What, Walter? Sometime around this time next week, something like that.
So tentatively, we are going to host the casuals games again at the beginning of October, and so yeah, more updates to come. But yeah, for now, let's assume the beginning of October 2022. There's more casuals games to come. Just get guys together, have some fun, play some free for all, then play some 2-team, get everyone kind of a little familiar, have people ask questions, have fun. Make fun of each other.
I'm saying we'll probably do a video covering the Paris draft tournament finals.
Okay.
About next week, right, Walter?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, gonna try and keep an eye open for that.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll definitely send you a message, and if you can make it, great. If not, no big deal. But thanks for dropping by, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Nice. Going for that porn right now. Maybe Japanese. Try to learn something new.
Yeah,
No, just kidding. Okay, guys. Bye.
All right.
Have a good one, man.
Thanks.
All right. So tuning back in, yeah, obviously we see an assassin game with pigs as the target. What are your thoughts?
I mean, pigs, barons, they seem to be kind of a very common assassin target. So it's not really a surprise to me that these 10 pigs are the targets on a sort of Venice unit set.
I guess what intrigues me is that I feel like the assassin target is either a single thing that you take out, and that's more akin to like free for all games, or like very few units. But to get like 10 of them or more, that is, I think that creates logistical challenges for a captain, right?
Well, I mean, having that many animals, it's almost a borderline stampede game. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
for
definitely
sure.
see where you're coming from. Let me just quickly talk about the differences in the unit trade here. So we have, I believe, Team Shad has two mortars, where Team Paris has 4, but Team Shad has a bunch more thrall, and I think that's sort of the major difference there. You can see that Team Shad has 4 whites, and Team Paris has none, so that's also a key difference. I'm not sure if
Which is an interesting strategy that Paris seems to be pioneering right now, is the concept that it's so common to get a lot of whites, but they are 3 unit points, and so what else can you get for that? And then like you can dodge a puss. If you have competent players, you can potentially dodge a puss. So puss really have gotten this almost overplay in the last few years, and Paris is challenging that.
I don't think he's going to get very far. I'm guessing that he probably had a couple of bowls of something, and he just simply forgot to get plus. I don't know
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I don't know why he got 10 goals and no whites, 2 journeymen, no whites. I think he just messed up, to be honest. But
So I've actually had conversations with him, and I don't think that this was a drug-induced endeavor. This was actually something that he had come up with, but whether or not it pays off, I don't know how it can. Like pus is such a valuable thing. It not only does a lot of damage, it stuns units, slows them down for like seconds at a time, which as anyone that has watched our films knows,
Killer
every
King
second is
and
valuable.
Shad questioning why someone wasted a big bus. I'm not really sure who it was. Shad's strategy is to basically stash the pigs in this small valley here and sort of plug up each side with Thrall. Paris is taking a more active approach, and he's actually sort of moving rather than stashing his targets. Overdose going to the east. Ion.
These are not
Scratchy.
traditional tactics you would see in a Myth World Cup sort of game.
In the middle, Walter Wight going north. Killer King and Killer King is probably just going to be holding this area here, and then we see Wings coming in through this little area, and I'm not really sure where Shad, Father Xmas, he's also standing there. So yeah, again, this is Wings area, this is Father Xmas, and this is Killer King. I'm not sure where Shad is. YOLO also, welcome to the game. It's now 6-on-7, so I think Ion and YOLO are the newest players. Walter Wight, you're able to scout out the...
And Amazi.
Well, Amazi was in the last game.
Well, Ion, yeah, I think was there too. Anyways, regardless, YOLO and Ion and Amazi were the last players to join, totally.
Yeah, so maybe Shad just has these Thrall and a mortar, but he has 38% of the army, so I don't know what...
I think he's just content on captaining,
he does have some goals there, though.
And then watching those goals.
Geralt moving upwards with his goals and a Dwarven mortar. Overdose. His Warlock's getting bust. Meanwhile, Killer King is fighting both you and Paris in the middle right now. He has decided to come off of this ledge, which may or may not prove to be a good idea. Or he seems to be going back to that ledge now. Father Xmas, he's fighting kind of by himself, so maybe it was Killer King's intent to try and reinforce Father Xmas, but he instead decided it might have been too risky, which is why he backed up a bit. Wings' Warlock was destroyed, my Warlock was destroyed, so it's really just a warrior battle in the middle. Geralt has pretty much walked unopposed, just completely by himself in the east. Scratch, you, and Paris are sort of moving in the middle.
I think we kind of identified where we can be safely, and Paris knows that basically at this point he's taken the last final hill. Like, if they ever want to cross this river, there are such sudden valleys that there's not a lot that he's worried about coming from behind based on what he has and how he has you on the run and is scouting the unit on the very far east of the screen. So
I mean,
so Terries
King
knows
can
the map.
for sure sees these pigs, but there isn't much Killer King can do. Paris, though, perhaps being a bit aggressive. I mean, he's really firing from a elevation disadvantage, and this journeyman, journeyman can take a pretty big beating. Oh, that was a misfire from Ion. He should have been able to kill.
Oh, but he's using one of those brilliant ideas. Do you see that? He used that mortar to kill that Warlock shot.
Another terrible shot by Ion. He just can't shoot up that hill. But Killer King can shoot down the hill, and he completely annihilates Ion's Dwarven mortar.
We're commenting on two different things, but I think...
We see sort of a rush of sorts from Overdose and Scratch converging on Father Xmas. By, I think, Scratch and Overdose are going to have to back off. Killer King seems pretty content with holding this hill. You are engaging this. I think You just lost your warlock to YOLO.
So there were there was a critical dud thing that happened, but
sorry,
we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of pressure on these pigs here, but Team Shad was able to fight it off. It's 76% to 72%, still very close. However, Paris does have very great position in this middle area. There is a goal that may be, you know, causing some trouble in the future. Who knows? We still see Overdose. Overdose was pointing out that there was several big pus here that Team Shad did not pick up. I was trying to put this warrior on the pus so that Shad's mortar would blow everything up, but of course Shad is way too smart for something like that, so instead my warrior just got blown up, and they do have the pus there. Again, I think that's maybe even 3. Is that 3 full pus? Maybe it's 2.
I thought it was only 2 when I was looking at it. I think I had 1%, so I was looking at a Gaul, which is right now headed there. You can see hovering above Paris's percentage.
Nice shot from Shad, blowing up a bunch of archers, or sorry, warriors. Overdose forced to retreat.
Paris, yeah, you look at the unit percentages here, it's basically Paris is trying to take it on all by himself versus Shad, but again, I think that those are all pig units. You know, I don't think the game is that crazy.
Killer King is fighting on both sides. Ion with his warlock. Ion can probably just turn around and kill this warlock here. Let's see if he can do it. Excellent shot from Ion.
Ion, the king of warlock, I would say. You know, that's what he likes to do the most. He may be able to be outmaneuvered by a player that we know is like a 5-star, but he's a competent warlocker.
We see Overdose and Father Xmas still with this bloodlust. Again, fighting to the last man. It looks like Overdose is gonna clean this one out. And in typical fashion, the Frenchman is forced to retreat.
Oh, one thing, if you scroll a little bit to your right, an interesting little thing is the 1% unit, that little goal that's moving towards their pigs. Shad being so spread out, having most of the units, he's not able to really focus on, what can be happening in his backfield. And this little tiny Gaul almost steals a victory. Had it had a big putt, that would have been game over right there. But the the Gaul gets in there and gets a number of free hits, tries to get away, but that could have been game over in there. Just an interesting fact how a single unit can change the game when some very good players aren't paying attention.
One thing to note is Scratch is telling Giral that his mortar here is AFK, a mortar that Giral seems to have custom named Mark. We don't know who Mark is, but that's the name of that mortar, who does appear to be AFK. Scratch has
it may be a shout out to the game, the movie The Room. Oh, hello, Mark. But we don't know.
Okay, perhaps. But yeah, to go back to your original point, speaking of woulda, coulda, shouldas, what would have happened if Paris had gotten pus for all of his goals? It could have been over. I noticed that you threw a heart.
That was picked up, yeah, from that pile that we were talking about earlier. That was the last remaining. Yeah. They or nearby. It was the last remaining option.
Scratch again pointing out Mort still catatonic. whereas Giral is demanding even more units despite this mortar being completely AFK. So Giral really, and again, Giral asking why are they sitting when ironically his own mortar is the one doing the sitting. However, Shad's pigs are sort of being forced out of this nook, and they are firmly on the run. You know, it is conceivable that they could run for another 2.5 minutes, but you know, these Paris units really are sort of circling.
Walter, after his goal up top did end up dying after that middle engagement. He did end up getting one more goal, knowing how vulnerable the units were and how little time is technically left remaining. He asked Paris for one more goal, which Paris provided him, and now Walter Wight is basically just trying to hunt down those. Like, all he needs is like 3 hits on one of these, and so he wants to. He throws a cleaver to get a hit, throws, and then takes down that in 2 hits. Now all of a sudden, Paris's team can rest easy. It at least has the 1 kill it was looking for. Technically, all of Paris's units can fall back on defense, but it is game over pretty much.
Yeah, and then one of the sort of ironic things is that this mortar being AFK for so long, the pigs actually just sort of walked right up his alley, and then it, you know, once that mortar sort of came alive again, it actually forced the pigs back north, which is sort of when your goal was able to do what it did. So again, you know, this Mark really played sort of an interesting role despite
10 kills. Look at that up there in the top there. 10 kills, top right.
Yeah. So again, you know, maybe Giral knew what he was doing. He knew that the pigs were going to come down here, and then his mortar would force them back up north, sort of boxing them in this corner. You know, maybe he's just thinking on a different level than everyone else. But also, got to give a shout out to Ion. You know, again, some good shots with his Warlock. 41 damage, 12 kills. Excellent effort from Ion. And, you know, of course, Paris. 19 kills, 0 losses. That's pretty impressive, but you wouldn't really expect anything less from, you know, the pride of Massachusetts, Mr. Paris over there. So good job from him as well.
Game.
Who I think has won more Myth World Cups than any other player, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, who knows? Okay, so we got 3 more. Are you ready to get into this?
If we can talk about how it plays into the casuals tournament for a second, I think that at this point, is the casuals tournament over, or what do you think about that? Should we save talking to the end, or?
Well, the thing is, you know, we already know that Glassjaw was eliminated, and he is the only person on Team Shad. Wait, hold on. Yeah, we already played 3 games, so actually this should be... Oh yeah, it's Team Walter versus Team Shad now. Glassjaw is the only player on Team Shad, which means, you know, since Glassjaw is already eliminated, and the 4 remaining players... Actually, I think Father Xmas was eliminated as well, so the 3 alive players, you, Walter Wight, Wings, and myself, we were all on the same team. It's, you know, even though these games technically count, you know, the score, the life total of all of the contestants is sort of locked into place, which again is why I'm a bit disappointed that Paris shuffled the teams for week 3, but you know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, this is Paris's tournament, so he's free to do whatever he wants, and you know, so I mean, I guess we can. Well, let's just.
So let's wait until the end, but let's see. So right now, what happened in Paris's tournament is he only has a 3-game series for each team, and so now it's changed teams. So originally it was Paris versus Team Shad in terms of the brackets, and then now this next game series places based on the players that were available and the captains that were available. We ended up going with Team Shad versus Team Walter Wight, and so Walter takes over, but having not played the previous series of matches together. We're essentially seeing similar maps, I think, or is it a change of maps? I forget exactly what happened.
No, we played different maps, but I think the third series, which I turned off because those games didn't really count for the casuals only tournament.
Or the
When
same
we
as
did
even
Team,
earlier.
I think it was Team Asmo versus Team somebody. Those were the same maps as game 9, 10, and 11. So I don't know, perhaps there is a method to Paris's madness, but it's not a method that I fully understand. So, I just show up and play games. I don't really ask any questions. But what we do know,
I guess I was happy if I recall that it wasn't just going to be a repeat of the same three matches with similar teams. So now all three different maps, different teams, but I guess I didn't even know that that there was too much of a difference. It's just interesting to see.
okay. So one thing to notice is that the games are getting quite full. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're now at 7 on 7. I think at one point we get to 15. I'm not sure if we get a full 8 on 8 game. But yeah, so games 9, 10, and 11 will be Team Shad versus Team Walter. Again, every other remaining player who was not on one of these rosters was picked kickball style. So that's sort of where these teams came from. So let's just jump into this. Game number 9 of this series of games, but it is game 1 of the Team Shad versus Team Walter, best of 3 component of Paris's draft tournament. So here we go. Flag Rally, Belly of the Beast, Team Shad with Scratch, YOLO, Ion, Amazy, Glassjaw, and Paris versus Walter Wight with Wings, Overdose, Father Xmas, Draw, Killer King, and Detriment. So, I would say that there's an interesting mixture of players. Like I would say that in terms of like heavy hitting sort of players, Paris is probably the single best player out of everybody here. But Shad, Killer King, very competent players. Scratch, he's been around forever. So I mean, there's an interesting dispersion of players.
And how the draft ended up going is that I think Shad had a single player that showed up for him on his team. I think it was Glassjaw, and then I had a single player that showed up on my team, which was Wings. And so from there, Paris kind of lets the captain that speaks first say, "Okay, we're doing a snake draft. Do you want to get the first 2 picks, or do you want to get the first pick or the next 2 picks?" And Shad chose to get the first pick, which he spent on Paris. I purchased
You
Killer
purchased.
King
Oh, I forgot Slavery was back.
and Overdose. Xmas was also on my team.
Yeah.
And then Shad picked.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to recreate the entire draft here, but one thing that's of note is that both Father Xmas and myself, we were original members of Team Shad. So the fact that Paris changed the
Split you
teams,
up.
it actually decreased Team Shad's attendance and had had the team stayed the same, you know, these teams would have been very different. So, you know, for better or for worse. Anyway, let me just quickly go through this unit trade a bit. We see that, so I mean,
I'll just say it for worse. I love seeing Overdose and Father Xmas on my team. You know, they're casuals guys, but they're high quality players. So even despite their feud, it's better to have them than to hate them.
I mean, I was tempted to just, you know,
Drop.
no,
I know.
mean, shoot off Father Xmas's Solus with my Warlock there. But okay, so let me just quickly go through these differences. Team Walter traded for quite a few more dwarves, you know, and as well as quite a few more Solus. As you can see, I think you traded for what, like 17, 18 Solus or something like that, 4 dwarves.
The stream is getting very grainy. I'm not sure if it's on my end or your end, but just of note.
I mean, and you were sort of cutting in and out a while ago, but it was still, you know, not a huge
All right, that's
problem.
good. I'm just ensuring that you're all good for the stream. Yep.
Yeah, and then there's 4 goals, whereas Shad's team perhaps got maximum goals. I'm not sure. So that's 10 right there. 18. Yeah, I think Shad maxed goals. So the major differences again are the goals, a lot fewer Solus, and 3 fewer dwarves. Those are sort of the major differences. So Walter Wight is instructing Killer King to go to flag number 4. I think everyone else is just sort of supposed to go counterclockwise, which is what again Father Xmas and Overdose are doing. So unfortunately, this could be a bad, you know, 80s action movie where you got the good cop and the bad cop who all, you know, have to fight together to kill the bad guys. That might be what we are going to see here with Father Xmas and Overdose.
Flag captured.
Meanwhile, Paris and Glassjaw with Ion, they are all hovering in on this middle area.
Flag captured.
This is pink person YOLO with his Thrall Elite. I think they are going to guard flag number 2, which is sort of standard, whereas Team Walter is going to guard flag number 8.
Flag captured. Flag captured.
I don't mean to be a dick, but it is certainly your stream that is lagging, but we will go with it, and hopefully it plays out well.
You see a nice shot there from Walter Wight, perhaps catching Shad doing a little captaining.
But then I get blasted by Ion, who is what I say, like, you want him on your team more than you don't.
Yeah, but I still think it was a good trade. I mean, these Heron guards are really powerful units, so I would gladly sacrifice a dwarf.
For sure.
To kill a few of these
that
Heron
was
guards.
my thought, thank you.
But yeah, now we see Overdose and Father Xmas creeping towards flag number 1. Paris and Scratch and YOLO making a attempt to sort of box in Killer King, I think. You know, again, so much of this map revolves around the Heron guards, so if you can box in the Heron guards with other units, I mean, that really is a big game changer. So I think that's what Paris and Shad's team are attempting to do. Meanwhile, I think, who is this guy? Glassjaw. He's making a move for flag number 8. There's not much that can be done. Overdose has these units, but I think he's AFK. He's going after this flag.
Walter Wight with no units started to kind of manage a little bit for him, but kind of knew that was going to be a potentially losing battle.
But for
he
some
just wants
reason,
to delay.
Glassjaw is moving backwards.
Is not pushing. Yep, that was a wrong choice by Glassjaw.
But Paris is moving in with a sizable force. Overdose with a very bad puss. Not really able to get the Warlock, but he is making it.
I wasn't managing your goal, but
Oh, so you take credit for the good stuff, not the bad stuff. Okay, but yeah. So again, Father Xmas and Overdose are making a push to the north now. Killer King with his hair on guards, he's going to try and cut off some of these warriors of Fel, I think, or at least he's going to try and distract them while the Soulblighters guard number 7, because I think Doomsday needs 7 and 9.
and so Walter White even said that in the chat just a minute ago that Flag 7 is our home now. So meaning that although Flag 8 was our original intention, everyone should kind of focus around.
That was a great trio of pus from Paris to do a significant amount of damage to these Heron guards. Now, normally, I think Killer King, if all of these Heron guards were healthy, they probably could have wiped out all these guys here. But instead, they're all kind of half health, so Killer King really needs to run. However, this is where Walter Wight makes a move on flag number 2. Again, it's victory imminent, so Team Shad needs to tag number 7.
This is where Father Xmas makes a move on 2. Sorry, Walter White was guarding the other, but yeah.
And then it looks like these Thrall Elite are going to die, and then it's going to be on this one goal to contest the flag, and Paris is going to have to rush, but it's not in time, and so Team Walter Wight is going to take that victory. Surprising to see that the best player on our team, Killer King, with -2 damage. I'm not sure how that happened, because I think he only had hair on guards, so I don't really
He did everything, like, basically to draw a lot of units. It was a really fun strategy to kind of use him and Detriment, who are fun players that are of notable status, to kind of do what they do. But as a captain, if you get to a point where it's like, okay, I kind of understand where I want the unit to go, I know a general idea of what I want them to do, but there's not a lot of time, even with Paris's 4-minute planning times. Split and give to a commander on each flank, say Detriment, hand your units to these players. Killer King, hand your units to these players, and watch the magic work. It's really effective.
Yeah, I mean, I think Killer King did play a central role in sort of drawing so much attention, because I'm sure Shad and Paris are aware that Killer King was probably the best player on our team, and that he would be given the most important units, which are, of course, the Heron Guards. And so, the fact that, early on...
Sending him to a particular location was also integral to that game. He also was like, so do you mean have me go middle? I said, no. Go to the flag I told you to. And he did, which was great.
I mean, you gotta stop interrupting me, man. I had something important to say, but now I forgot it. So, but I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So good job from Team Walter, and let's move on to the next game. Okay, so this is game number 10, Assassin Shimedaiko. Here we go. Yeah, so also Detriment, despite his eagerness to sign up for pretty much every tournament that I've seen in the past couple of years, he oftentimes will be the first person to sign up for the tournament, and then he never shows up. So actually the fact that he showed up last game is sort of a small victory in and of itself, but alas, he was only around for one game, and so now it is again back to 6-on-7 with Team Walter Wight at a 1-player disadvantage, perhaps even a 2-player disadvantage if you consider the fact that Amazy is a very new player. However, Shad, Paris, very good players, so the teams aren't exactly super uneven. One of the strange components of this map is that the assassin targets are both the journeyman and one of the 3 brigands that you get. What do you think about the choice of assassin units for this map, Walter?
It almost seems like the map was designed by someone who is just kind of like testing the waters of just like learning map making still, but I don't know. It feels a little hard to understand. Like there are 3 brigands, but I guess the unit formations kind of point to the journeyman, so maybe the map maker was trying to suggest that the journeyman is also. But I honestly, when I first looked at this map, thought only the journeyman was the target. But yeah, that the brigand is also one, but you get 2 decoy brigands. That's an interesting thing.
Yeah, well, you said that this map was perhaps made by someone with limited map making experience. I believe this map was, at least the unit trade was created by your boy HMP. So are you calling him sort of a map making novice?
Oh boy, I would never do that. HMP makes some of the best maps ever. So I would only say that I would be curious to know in his map making career if this is his favorite choice of maps that he will rest his legacy on. I don't think that he would, but at the same time, it's not a bad map. He doesn't make bad maps. It's playable. I'd love to see, if these teams can figure out how to do something. Because I, as far as I know, this map had never been played before in any tournament style game. So to give credit to Paris, it is a brand new variant. But it could be testing out a map that HMP might not have meant to be vetted, because every game style requires a map maker to vet the game play, and whether or not HMP cares to admit, he may not have spent 100% of time making sure that assassin on this particular game was perfect.
Interesting to note that the assassin targets are both named Jakku, a reference to Avon's Grove, and in fact most of these units, for example, this unit here is named after Taro, who was just with us a few minutes ago. So again, that's kind of interesting to see.
But meant to be then, right?
And then, offhand, I could see that the major difference between Team Walter Wight and Shad, Team Walter Wight opted for quite a few more thrall, whereas Shad, I think, got more goals, and he's opting, I think, for more pus and that sort of traditional sort of unit trade.
If I recall, well, it's difficult to kind of watch everything and watch in-game chat. I started to feel like I was being given a little bit of grief from my in-game players. They'd say things like, "Okay, we're screwed," or things like that. But every single bit of the strategy was thought out, and the units that every player was given were for a reason. So. It's interesting because although we may have been screwed, we actually weren't, maybe.
So one thing that you might have not seen was that Shad drew on the map, sort of going in this sort of clockwise motion while also having a force go to the middle. I think you drew on the map. Most people just go to the middle. What was your thinking behind getting so many thrall?
So the major choke points on this, and that's an interesting thing for people to look at, is at the middle of the map. There are only a certain amount of points that you can really cross. And so utilizing those was sort of essential to kind of like owning a certain portion, but also like protecting our units. So at the very least, we could attribute a draw, but at the very best, we could, essentially surround, because they likely would get a shit ton of artillery, and this is like too big of a map to kind of do that. They wouldn't be able to account for their choke points. So already, Walter's goals are through. They pick up 2 or 3 of the pus back at the opposing team's home base and bring that back for later. Well, their whole team is still trying to vie for position for their archers, which will slowly and sequentially kind of get picked off. So it was a weird map with the assassin targets as they were, but kind of knowing who your teammates are and what their capabilities are, you offer trust, and you divide units in a way that you think is beneficial to winning.
One thing we see is that Scratch is more or less all out here in the northeast corner by himself, causing havoc on our side of the map. However, Father Xmas and no, I think it's just Father Xmas and Wings are going to engage. But again, these bowmen are going to be a problem for these thrall because they're too slow. 2 of the brigands, most notably, not the assassin target, but 2 of the non-assassin target brigands are sort of out in the front lines. And now I think they're probably going to get slaughtered. Meanwhile, perhaps more importantly, we have Overdose and Killer King here.
As well as Walter Wight and I think Wings or Terrell, or no, Walter Wight and Ion crossing on the other bridge on that far right side. Yeah, but everyone kind of closing in on middle.
Yeah, so I mean, one way you could actually look at this map is just kind of like a mini If I Had a Trow, where you got these 3 access points and, this middle kind of thing going on. My archers were going to try and cross this bridge and then perhaps, flank them over here, but I think Glassjaw was able to see it, so I decided to back up a little bit.
It was a good testament to Glassjaw.
Yeah, you were doing what I wanted to do, and I think if both of us had crossed the bridge, then there would have been no hope for this entire group of units here. So again, Glassjaw could have possibly saved the game by rotating his units to counter my archers, but be that as it may, you were able to get across, and you are now shooting this random goal instead of shooting these guys, unfortunately. But Yola was able
Thank
to
you for the immediate feedback.
I mean, honestly, I was focusing more on my units, and then I saw you shooting that goal over there. But
it was ill-advised, but at least we took out any possible pus. I think at the time you kind of know that any pus they have is probably active unless they are so. Unless all of their players are completely have never played the game, because I picked up 2 in their backfield, and then I brought them back and used them against
excellent
them.
pus from Killer King to freeze all of these units. Overdose with the fire arrows. That's going to be a good combination. Going to burn some of these warriors. Father Xmas with a great pus blowing up that dwarf in the backfield.
Fire arrows. Boom.
And now Team Shad's targets are really getting boxed in here. Walter Wight with a nice thrall wall with Ion's warriors as well. At this point, Team Shad is completely surrounded. Where's the rest of Team Shad's army? I don't. Well, maybe this is it. Who knows?
There isn't, and they realize that, and they give up. So what had been criticized was a pretty amazing strategy, but it all came
great
from
pass from Killer King again
study-
to freeze all these thrall.
studying previous experts of myth, and so this strategy wasn't developed by Walter Wight. No, this
But
was
is anyone, at the end of the day, is anyone really an expert at myth? It seems kind of like an oxymoron.
well, no one has played this map. So actually, I used Lord Scary Owl's strategy of a flag rally map to essentially create, and it worked out.
And we
For better or worse, it worked
we see the first target might go down. It is this extremely red brigand. Yes, he does go down. And now all the focus is going to be on this J-Man. And it is not looking good. Team Shad succumbs to some great positioning by Team Walter Wight. Again, the fact that you were able to get across the bridge, that was kind of the opening of the floodgates, so to speak. You were able
and
to
either
secure-
you or I could have potentially, yeah.
Yeah, but again, great movement from Glassjaw to prevent my archers from going across. Killer King holding down the middle. Also, some great pus from Killer King to freeze the opposing melee warriors, which I then fire arrowed, and then down here to freeze all of those thrall down there. So Killer King. Always a solid performance from him, and Team Walter Wight's going to take this one.
Game over.
And with that, this will now be. Let me just make sure nobody. Okay, yeah, it's just us. It was so random that Terros, I didn't even hear him join. But it was good to hear him hop on. I don't think I've ever talked to him before.
He's a good dude for sure.
I never knew Brazilians could speak English that well. Hanging around Selah for so long, you just start losing.
Come on.
You start losing hope. But then.
But it was fun to see that actually his name as a player was associated into HMP's map making. It gives validation to everything. Taro was a big part of that map, even in spirit if he wasn't here, and it was fun to see him.
Yeah, and just for the record, this is the MWC 21, which means it was from last year, edited by HMP and Paris. So one of those two guys decided that the target one, the J-Man was going to be a target, and one of the three brigands were going to be the target. So I don't know if it was HMP or if it was Paris, and but it is what it is, and it happened just last year. So it's not like HMP was some kind of teenage novice or anything like that. I mean, this is really just a more recent map. So
well, that's the cool thing about the whole myth community, is that there is actually a whole community of people that just get passion out of making maps that people like. I know players that rarely play their own maps, but they insist on making their maps perfect for the players that play. So it's a pretty cool diverse community of how you can play the game. Some players only like to play cooperatively with other players. Some people like to play only on their own on the single player aspect, and then some like this you have to play against each other but have a good time, and some players hate play each other.
Yeah, one thing to note is that this map did not get that much of a positive reception in terms of feedback both for this game and the Team Asmodean versus Team whoever it was. Both sets were not too pleased with this map, which is an extremely stark contrast to this next map, Smash the Mirror, which is, again, sort of HMP, I think, edited this map. Remedial made the map, I guess. But this map has received an absolutely glowing response, 2 thumbs up, just pretty much a 100% positive feedback. Everyone seems to like this map, and
even Empy, who hates most things,
I think
he loves it because there are Bray Unor.
Yeah. So, but actually, I don't think that's the case for the Shadow map, is it? Or is
there aren't any Bray Unor on this? Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So I believe there are like 4 variants, and it might be the dark variant. I know there's Shadow and Shadow 2 and Light. Those are the other 3. But yeah, let's get into this. This is the last game that we're going to review for this tournament. Yeah, here we go. And so shout out to Adrenaline, which it may or may not be the actual Adrenaline. The rumors have it that there could have been some imposters. So
I have it on firm authority that this is not the actual Adrenaline.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, who really knows? Yeah, again, it's Team
Could be
Walter.
Adrenalinception.
It's Team Walter with Overdose, Father Xmas, Killer King, Wings, Geralt, and Ion versus Team Shad with Scratch, Adrenaline, Amazy, Glassjaw, and Paris. So I think we're going to give a little bit of time for these unit trades to happen. What's your opinion about this unit trade, or the unit set?
So this one, I have to admit, and in a casuals tournament, you're not supposed to. I don't think you're not supposed to. I just think Overdose likes to think you shouldn't plan ahead. But I think if you want to be competitive, you plan your strategies accordingly. This would be the game that I had no strategy exactly for. I kind of ran out of time. And so I traded units based on kind of what I felt like was the best unit trade. In this, I felt like I had some general knowledge, but the idea is that it's king of the map, so you want time on the flags, and there's a lot of flags near impassable terrain, which includes high hills and water. Killer King plays a huge role in my learning in this map, actually, in telling me how the whites can be effective. Because there isn't an ability to really use them for healing. Yes, you do have Heron guards, but you don't have Gauls. So the whites are only really useful for their own popping power, which essentially means they can only take the outsides of the map. But there's some of the few units that can be sank, so they can come in and get more time on the map, which was a huge. I got to give a shout out to Killer King for that observation. He doesn't strictly say it; he just says, "So whites on the outside" or something like that, and that was cool. Ultimately, I'm just thinking, okay, so some of my more important units have to be given to players that might not like the fact that they are what they are, the Soulless. But the Soulless are going to be like some of the best units. So I give them to players that I have a lot of confidence in. I gave originally the Forest Giants, which are the strongest units, to Killer King, who's he's one of those players that's like, well, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to face you on a day-to-day battle, but he's a really, really awesome guy, really, really fun things, and he hates Forest Giants. Wing said, dude, I love Forest Giants. So we switched unit sets around and essentially, gave Wings the forest giants, because Wings I trust almost more than anyone, to kill when he's asked, and to do it when and where you want him to. And so we switched up kind of unit sets, and in this kind of like spur of the moment, we had different things we could go with, but this is where we went.
Okay, so one of the major differences is that Team Shad opted to get 6 dwarves, and you opted to basically perhaps max Solus. And I think you got an extra spider pack. So what do you think about Shad's decision to get dwarves on this map?
I think it's a bad decision. Are they dwarven heroes even?
No, the regular dwarves.
No. Yeah, there's no really anything they can do other than, if they don't set down their satchels and a forest giant wipes them, then maybe you take down like half their health, because it's 8 satchels, or I guess it's 4 technically, but if you set it up correctly, you could technically have a suicide dwarf with 8 satchels, and 1 swipe could take out half, but no reasonable forest giant player is going to swipe a dwarf knowing that it's going to end in an explosion. So there's no reason to get a dwarf.
We see a fight early on between Wings and Adrenaline. It looks like, oh wow, Adrenaline just turns around when I think he could have had Wings there. Yeah, that was strange. He sort of pulled back when he could have. He had an extra punch on this forest giant, but Wings is going to live.
He hesitated.
The other, yeah, I think the real Adrenaline would not have hesitated. But we see Paris with the second forest giant sort of being forced backwards by Father Xmas and overdoses Solus. On this side of the map, there's sort of a small skirmish for this flag in the south. Now we see a fetch battle, perhaps.
Flag lost. Flag captured.
See some of that. Yeah, these guys are going to get picked off.
Flag lost. Flag contested.
And now we see, I think Father Xmas and Overdose are trying to trap this forest giant.
Contested.
Paris using a spacebar dodge, which is, some interesting stuff.
Why do you say that?
Flag captured.
Well, most of the time at least when you play World War II, you use other keys.
Flag lost.
So maybe Paris's World War II game could be upped if he stopped spacebar dodging.
And why is that a bad tactic?
I mean, it's just nothing bad about it. It's just kind of disgusting. But now we see Overdose and Father Xmas's Solus being forced into the deep water, despite killing quite a few of Scratch's units. It's just not going to work out if they stay out of that deep water. Meanwhile, this extremely red forest giant from Adrenaline is, not stoned somehow. Usually,
Well, that is a map making choice. So any player
now it is stoned. Adrenaline's going to lose that forest giant.
Contested.
And let's just assume that is like a. So when you thought it should be stoned, was that like 5%? That's like a 2.5%.
I mean, that thing was red.
Well, I know at 5% it was red.
And we see that it's 67-64, so it's still very close. However, Team Shad has lost that forest giant, which plays such an important role. However, these Solus and spiders, I guess for that matter, by parking themselves on these impassable terrain, for example, Father Xmas and Overdose are just gonna go to town on these Thrall Elite, even though it's probably going to take them a long time to get through all those.
Either way, though, it's the better unit choice raid. So I was happy about how that played out, but it was, you know, like, it's a risk because you don't get dwarves, you don't get some other units that you'd like to kind of play out for killing melee, but...
Oh, we see, speaking of melee, we see a giant fight here between Ion and who is this? Glassjaw. Walter Wight's in there. And they're going to take out some enemy Stygian Knights.
Flag contested.
And Ion kind of knowing that he's sort of a dark horse in things that players hate to trust for whatever reason, but he can be my boy whenever, and you know, I love all the players that ever, you know, choose to play.
I mean, love is a bit of a strong word, but yeah, he's a good guy, and you know, for a Dutch person. But so we see Father Xmas and Overdose slowly getting through this group of Thrall Elite. Meanwhile, the west portion of this map is really secured by Team Walter Wight on the back of Killer King Solus. Walter Wight's Stygian, or Walter Wight and Ion's Stygian Knights. They're really kind of boxing in, forcing Shad into his own castle. And again, you can see these dwarves. You know, 5 dwarves now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You know, just sort of camped out. Is there a 6th one? Yeah, 6th right there. You know, not really doing much. So, you know, perhaps the decision to get dwarves wasn't great, even though it looks like they are going to blow up these Killer King spiders. So yeah, Killer King perhaps preoccupied with these Thrall Elite right here. But other than that, I mean...
Well, the Russians and the French certainly corresponded to make the Minnesotan win, potentially this one.
Yeah, and you know, these dwarves are not going to have much of a chance against these Solus. So, I mean, again, it really just... I'm not convinced that Solus are the best unit choice. Or, sorry, dwarves are the best unit choice for this map. But, you know... Oh, we do see a Forest Giant fight down here. And Wings is able to kill Paris's Forest Giant, even though one of his Forest Giants will get stoned. Yeah, his one remaining Forest Giant is pretty beat up, but again, great effort.
So fake Adrenaline ends up kind of complaining about it, I think, in chat here coming up in a minute. But
flag contested. Flag captured.
And so we see Father Xmas going after these dwarves. It's going to be hard for Father Xmas to get that dwarf unless he goes around, which he could conceivably do to get some more time. That's probably what he should be doing. Plus, if he gets around here, he could start throwing at that dwarf. But yeah, let's try and get some more action here. So with, you know, just a few minutes left and a lot of the you know, the units being sort of dispersed, I think it's really just a time game now. And you know, we do see the Soulblighters with an impressive lead, but with so many flags, and you know, Doomsday still has a sizable chunk of units. You know, a lot of this gap really is that Forest Giant, which again is really on the verge of death. So yeah, I mean, it really is anybody's game still, but Team Walter Wight definitely has the advantage.
Flag captured. Flag contested.
Well, I give it all to my team.
Father Xmas' Solus forced to flee to this high ground to try and attack those Thrall Elite. Same deal with Overdose's Solus.
Flag captured.
Walter Wight perhaps with an AFK Stygian Knight.
Flag captured.
And again, Killer King on the high ground throwing at units. So these Soulless really are kind of the difference maker, I would say, in this game.
Flag
You know, we see
captured.
Overdose, Father Xmas, and Killer King all
Flag
using the
lost.
high ground effectively to pick off some of the higher value targets, while also, you know, allowing for some time, like in these eastern flags. So, yeah, I think.
So I did good.
Yeah,
you'd say?
it was a good unit selection.
Flag lost.
You know, I mean, maybe it was either a good selection on your part or a bad unit selection
Flag captured.
from Team Shad.
Oh
or
my
maybe
God, you're gonna go that route?
it could be a combination of both. Who
contested.
knows? But
Flag captured.
but yeah, I mean, the ability for
Flag
these Soulless to
captured.
just sort of stand in
Flag
the impassable
lost.
terrain and just
Flag
you know, lock
captured.
down these sides when the, you know, the dwarves, they, you know, the dwarves aren't really going to
Flag
do much, I don't
captured.
think, in a King of the Map
Flag
game.
lost. Flag
It,
contested.
it was
Flag
good
captured.
good
Flag
choice.
contested. Flag.
So if Father Xmas comes out as completely a rogue agent, how would you grade these games?
What are you talking? What did you say? What,
Father Xmas was a rogue agent.
for who?
I mean, I ended up with I didn't lose a game that entire time. I'm just saying,
Captured.
is that coincidence, or how do players think about that?
30 seconds remain.
I'm not following you, man. I don't know about this Father Xmas
Flag contested.
rogue agent
Flag
leading you
contested.
to
Flag
not losing
captured.
any games. Like, I don't
Flag
make that
lost.
connection. But we do have
Flag
about 15 seconds left, and you know, I think the Soulblighters have it
Flag
well in
lost.
hand. Adrenaline
Contested.
complaining about the forest
Flag
giant not being
captured.
stoned. There's a bit of a dance
Flag
here between Paris's
contested.
dwarf and this
Game
forest
over.
giant to close out the game. But yeah, we see Paris. Wow, with triple digit damage. I think he had a forest giant and maybe some other units, including this dwarf right here. So, you know, good performance from him. But alas, the team Soulblighters are able to win the game on the back of, you know, a good effort from Wings' forest giants there. So yeah, it was an interesting game, and yeah, there we go. But again, unlike the what was the last Shimedaiko, you know, this Smash the Mirror map has gotten almost universal praise, and you know, thanks to HMP sort of resurrecting this map, hopefully we have a new map to add to the standard rotation of maps. And yeah, so in regards to the casuals only tournament, let me just quickly go over the results of the last week. So as you can see, Father Xmas did not have a very good day. Neither did Glassjaw, even though he did only start with 3 lives, so he was eliminated after the first 3 games. But yeah, after it was all said and done, Walter Wight only lost 1 life, and he was able to somehow win the tournament. So congratulations, you survived.
9 out of 10 games in a row, which pissed me off that I didn't win that other game of the assassin that we looked at, but whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were also sort of gift wrapped a lot of these
Oh,
free for all games. Just
Hell
gonna say,
no.
but
I got first in all of them except for the 2 of these 10 games.
But yeah, so I mean, that was the casuals only tournament, and you know, thanks to everybody who played. Hopefully, you know, sometime in the not too distant future, we'll get some more of these casuals only games. Of course, you know, maybe if you're not a casual player, you can still play with us. Hopefully, you know, it depends on I think Walter's going to be running the next iteration of this tournament, so it'll be interesting to see what he cooks up. But yeah, thanks to everybody again. You know, this is the entire list of players. Thank you all for showing up. I think this Casuals Only #2 was more successful in terms of participation than Casuals Only 1. So I'm happy that you know, even as the Myth 2 player population goes down, the participation of some of my tournaments has actually gone up. So bucking the trend is something I'm somewhat proud of, and I think it led to a pretty enjoyable experience for most of the people, even though everybody except Overdose Wings and Walter Wight are dead, and they're not coming back anytime soon. So you know, unfortunately for you guys, you know, you're all dead, but it was an enjoyable experience until that death. So yeah, thanks for playing. Congratulations to Walter Wight, and hopefully
Thank you.
we'll see you guys in the not too distant future. Anything, any last words you'd like to say, Walter?
No, other than to mirror, let's play some more. Let's get some more players involved. Let's do this.
All right, and with that, you know, hopefully we'll see you guys shortly, shortly after the Paris Draft Tournament Finals, which again, I think is slated for this Saturday at is it 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock Eastern, I think. Let me look at the schedule. 3:22. Yeah, I think it starts at 2 o'clock. There's supposed to be like 2 matches or something. 2 o'clock.
Regardless, yeah.
Yes.
But more importantly, when is the World War II
it's
match?
Okay, so it's Team 1 versus Team 4, Team 2 versus Team 3. So it'll be Team Walter versus Team Asmodean, and then Team Shad versus Team Paris in the semifinals, and then the grand finals will be the winners. So, you know, again, I wouldn't look too much into these team rosters because, again, with Paris tournaments, anything can happen. You know, I started with Team Shad, now I'm on Team Asmo. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that come this Saturday I'll be on Team Paris or on Team Walter. Who knows? But yeah, in regards,
I hope you're on my team actually, buddy, because I love you. I love giving you shit, and I hope to just play with you because you're a killer dude.
Yeah, please don't say the L word on any of my streams. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I look forward to the games. Let's see. Yeah, next Sunday. So, Spy having some scheduling conflicts. It was originally supposed to be Spy versus Team Xenophone in World War II Madness, but it will now be Team Xenophone versus Team Overdose, with a strong possibility of Karma showing up, which you know, he is such a titanic force in World War II. He will single-handedly sort of shift the balance of whatever team he's on. It'll be interesting to see. And yeah, so World War II this Sunday, Paris' draft tournament this Saturday, 2022. Myth is still alive and happening. If you have any extra time, free time this weekend, be sure to drop by. We'd enjoy seeing you guys. But yeah, we will see you next time.